Hey guys, welcome back to a JavaScript series. In this video, we're going to talk about operators in JavaScript. Now, operators is a special symbol that is basically used for performing some kind of operations. Now, what is an operation? Like what kind of operation I'm talking about? I'm talking about things like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. There are a lot more examples we're gonna cover. All these things are basically called operations. So if you want to perform some kind of operation like that, directly on the values or on the values of variables or constant, and then you want to get the value of the operation, you can use operator. So in case of addition, for example, you can perform addition on the values or like direct values or values of a variable or constant, and then you get a and then it returns you a value which is the result of the operation, that is the addition of the numbers, right? And one more important thing to know here is operand. Now, operand is basically something on which operation happens. For example, in case of addition, there might be two numbers, right, on which you are doing addition. Those two numbers would be considered as operand. Now, we're going to talk about operators in a lot more detail in this lecture itself. But I just want to give you one example so that's very clear on operator and operand. I want to make it very clear to you that what is the difference between that, okay? And I want you to understand this statement over here because this might be confusing, I know. So let's actually go and understand this. For understanding this, I would actually talk about arithmetic operator. Now, for understanding this, I'm going to talk about arithmetic operator. Now, I know we have not talked about arithmetic operators yet, but I'm just going to explain in a way so that you can understand it. So we're going to use an operator called plus. So operator is the plus operator. So this is basically called addition operator. Okay, so we're going to use that operator over here. Let me actually make this like this. I know like that dash is looking like a subtraction sign. So just making it a little bit more clear. But anyways, we have the addition operator, which we're going to talk about. So to use addition operator, you can just say, for example, 2 plus 3. Now that basically is how you actually use operators. So you can see over here, what I did is that I just used the plus operator, the addition operator, okay, and I added two values, 2 and 3. Now, what should be the result of this? The result of this should be 5. As I said, operator performs operation and then return the value of the operation. So this expression 2 plus 3 is returning some value. So what you can do, you can capture that value either in a variable or constant and then print that, right? Or you can go and print the value of this expression directly over here, right? Both are correct ways. Let me actually go and open Core.js file. Okay, so we have the JavaScript file over here. Let's go and see. Yes, you can see we are getting 5 because 2 plus 3 is 5. And as I said, you can perform directly on values or you can perform on value of variable or constant. So in this case, you can see I'm performing the operation directly on the values 2 and 3, right? So I can also do that on values of variable or constant. So for example, if I want, I can just go and create a constant, for example, b, and then give it a value of 4, and I create a constant c, give it a value of 5. Now I go and say console log b plus c, that gives me 9, right? That is one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is mix that. So basically you can perform operation on a direct value and a constant value. So for example, I can just go and say console log 2 plus b. So you can see I get 6. So I'm performing the operation on a direct value and an operation on a value of variable or constant. In this case, I perform an operation on constant, right? So that is how we can do it. Now, one thing to notice over here is about operand. So you know the operator is just arithmetic operator, addition operator. But talking about the operand, operand would be this and this in case of this expression. Same in this case, operand would be this and this. And this is operand for this expression. And in this case, this is the operand and this is the operand. So that's how easy it is. Operand is basically on what operator is applied on, right? So that is how you can understand about operators or operands. Now let's talk about types of operators. Now, I like to categorize operators on the basis of number of operands and then on the basis of operation it does. We are going to talk about operators on the basis of operation it does, but we need to understand this as well. So they're like, see, like as you know, like we have this plus operator. Now you can see plus operator was taking two operands, 2 and 3, right? So that's why this operator is called binary operator, because binary operators are those operators which take two values, which take two operands. Okay. Unary operators are those operands, or unary operators are those operators which take single operand. Ternary operators are operators which take three operands. That's all the categories we have on the basis of number of operands. We're going to talk about each operator, and I'm going to tell you each operator is a unary operator, binary operator, ternary operator. I'm going to talk about that, all of that things. Now, these are all the operators we have in JavaScript. I'm not going to talk about each of them because that's not very important. I'm just going to talk about important operators that you would actually use while coding. So let me go and talk about arithmetic operators first. So let's go and open arithmetic operators file. Let's copy all that and paste it over here. Now let's talk about it. So arithmetic operator is quite easy here. It's just useful for performing arithmetic operations. Now, if you know basic maths, you would be able to understand it very easily. We have these operators for arithmetics: addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, modulo or remainder, and increment, decrement, unary plus, unary negation, exponentation. So let's talk about each of them one by one. But first of all, let's talk about addition. Now you can see addition is basically a binary operator because it takes two operands. Now you already seen how we can use the addition operator. So you can just go and say console log 2 plus 3. That gives you the value of addition. That's how you can do the addition, use the addition operator. Subtraction operator is again easy. You can just go and say 3 minus 2, for example. That would give you 1. Or you can also reverse this. So for example, you can do 2 minus 3, that would give you 1, minus 1, right? So yeah, that's how you can do it. Let's talk about multiplication operators. So you can just go and say 2 multiply 3, that would give you 6. Okay. Then we have division operator for division. For example, you can say 2 divided by 3, that gives you 0.666, that just goes on. And otherwise you can also do 3 divided by 2, that gives you 1.5, or 4 divided by 2. By the way, if you remember in numbers lecture, we talked about infinity and not a number. Now for that, let's actually talk about infinity right now. So you can do something like this. Uh, 2 divided by 0, that gives you infinity, right? So that's where I was talking about infinity. Infinity can be, infinity can occur in this case. So you are dividing 2 by 0, that gives you infinity. So this is again a basic maths, right? You have obviously studied that in your maths classes, that if you divide a number by 0, that gives you infinity because that division is not possible. Minus 2 divided by 0 would give you negative infinity. Let's talk about remainder operator. Again, remainder operator is a binary operator like other operators. The thing is that this operator actually gives you the remainder of a division. So for example, if you do a 3 by 2, that basically gives you 1 as the remainder. So that's what it's going to print, right? So division prints the division result, remainder operator prints the remainder. So if I go and say modulo here, you can see it gives me 1, which is the remainder. Okay. And sometimes like it actually returns the for example, if I actually go and do 2 modulo 3, it would just return 2, right? Because this division is not at all possible. This number is smaller than this, so you can't even divide it a bit, and so that's why 2 becomes the remainder. Let's talk about increment operator. Now, increment operator is an operator that you can use on variables and constants, and it basically helps you to increment the value of that variable or constant, right? And by the way, it's a unary operator, which means it only takes one operand. Now, there are two ways in which we can use increment operator. One is prefix way, and another one is postfix way. So you can, for example, if I go and say const a equal to 2, okay, so if I go and say plus plus a, that's one of the way to use it, and then another way is a plus plus. Okay, actually I should do let, because this actually changes the value. It increments the value of the operand, right? And so you can't go and do this because it assigns to that, and constants can't be changed. So you need to take a let in this case. Anyways, these are the ways in which you can, increment the values. Now, if you actually try to print the value after the increment, for example, here I incremented the value. Increment means increase the value by one. So a increased by one. So if I print the value of a, it would be 3. The same over here. If I print the value of a, that would become 4 now, because it was 3 at this point. Like after this point, it was 3, and then you again incremented, so it became 4. And before this, it was 2. Now, you might ask, what is the difference then? Like, if both of these things performs in the same way, like if I do this or this, it just increments the value, then what is the difference? The difference is the value it returns. So you already know that an operator is returns a value. You already know this, right? Returns the value of operation. That is where the difference lies. In case of plus plus a, it returns the incremented value, whereas a plus plus would return you the value before incrementing the value. So in this case, if we try to print the value, it would print 3, right? Because as I said, it would print the incremented value. But this would print 3 again, because it prints the value before increment. So before incrementing, the value would be 3. After incrementing, it would become 4. So it would print 3. So if I just go and print that, so you can see it prints me 3. So I hope that is clear. Same goes with decrement operator. Decrement operator also like goes and decrements the value. So and it also has like two ways to use it, right? So b equal to 2, I did that, and then I just printed a value of b that gives me 2. Now when I do minus minus b, that would print 1, right? Because this would print the decremented value. Then we go and say b, that became 1. Now this would print 1 again, because it prints the value before decrement. Okay, if I try to do b minus minus, that print the value before decrement, which is 1. And after decrement, if we try to print the value, that would become 0. So that's the decrement operator. And again, these are both unary operators. Now we have unary plus. Unary plus is again a unary operator. It basically helps to um, make an expression positive. So for example, if I go and say positive 2, that is basically 2 without any positive sign, because that also means a positive number, right? So if you do positive negative 3, that becomes negative 3. So this is basic maths. Hopefully you have understood about this in your maths classes, that if you actually go and add a plus sign on a positive number, that gives you a positive number. If you apply plus sign on a negative number, that gives you a negative number. So basically plus operator is mostly useless, but there is a but there is a actual use case for this, and that is type conversion, which we're going to talk about later on, not today. But for now, that's the use. You can just go and like convert the value positive. Okay, that is the use of it. Let's talk about unary negation operator. Now unary negation operator also has a use in type conversions, but it actually makes a lot of sense even directly. For example, if I go and say const a equal to 2, actually I should say c. Now if I go and say c, that prints me 2. But if I go and say minus c, that prints me minus 2. So you can see when I'm applying negative sign on a positive number, that makes the number negative number. That is again a basic math rule you might have understood in your maths classes. Now, if you, for example, go and say const d equal to 3, actually make it minus 3. Now, if you apply, if you directly print the value, you are getting minus 3. But if you try to do minus d, that would basically make it positive 3. Why? Because minus d would basically become minus minus 3. Okay. And you know, when you apply a negative sign on a negative number, that number becomes a positive number, and that's why you're getting 3. Again, a basic maths rule. So that's basically about unary negation. That is also like a unary operator. Finally, we have exponentation operator. Exponentation operator is a binary operator. Now, one more thing again here, just to make it very clear, uh, be very careful about plus minus unary and plus minus um, binary. Both are different, as I've shown you. Okay, so if plus comes with a single operand, that is basically a unary operator. If plus comes with like two operands, that is a binary plus. Okay, that's the difference. Anyways, let's talk about exponentation operators. Exponentation operator is used to do things like 2 to the power 3. So if you know 2 to the power 3 would become 2 multiply 2 multiply 2, 2 multiply 3 times, right? Like 3 times you multiply 2, that gives you 8. So things like that can be done with the help of um, exponentation operator. So what you do, you just go and say 2 exponent operator 3. That gives you 8. Okay. So that's basically 2 to the power of 3. Let's take some more examples. For example, 4 to the power 2. That gives you 16. Okay. 4 to the power 4, that gives you 256. Okay. So that's about the exponentation operators. That's all I guess for it. Let me go and copy this and paste it over here. Let's talk about assignment operator next. So this is basically for assigning a value. Let me talk about it. So it basically assigns a value from right hand operator to the left hand operand. Sorry, from right hand operand to the left hand operand. That's what assignment operator does. And by the way, all the assignment operators we have are binary operators. Okay. So it's used like this. We have left operand, we have the assignment operator, and we have the right operand. The value of right operand would be assigned to the left operand. Okay. So these are all the assignment operators. One is simple assignment, then we have addition assignment, subtraction assignment, multiplication assignment, division assignment, modular remainder assignment, exponentiation assignment. So all these like looks like arithmetic operator mixed with assignment operators, right? And that's what it is. And that's why I talked about arithmetic operators first. And then we have nullish coalescing assignment, which we're going to talk about later on. For now, we can ignore it. Later on means in this video only, but not right now. Let's talk about simple assignment first. Simple assignment is again very easy. We have already talked about it too much. If you do const a equal to 2, that basically means you're using simple assignment operator. You're assigning the value of 2 into constant a, right? If you take let a equal to 4, and then you say a equal to, actually we should say b equal to 4, b equal to 5. So in all these three cases, we are using an assignment, simple assignment operator. We are assigning the value of right hand operand to the left hand operand, same over here, and then same over here. Okay. So in this case, this simple assignment operator creates a constant and initializes that constant. In this case, it initializes a variable. In this case, it changes the value of a variable. Okay. So that's basically simple assignment operator. Let's talk about addition assignment operator. So just like simple assignment operator, all these arithmetic assignment operator also does assignment, but it first of all performs an arithmetic operation on the value and then does the assignment. And by the way, these can't be used. These arithmetic assignment operators can't be used in this case. In this case, you can't use it, but in this case, you can definitely use it. So let's take an example over here. Now let's say you want to change the value of b and you want to add 4 into the value that b already has. So in this case, if you check, b has a value of 5, correct? Now if I go and I want to like make the value of b increment by 4, in that case, what I can do, I can just go and say b equal to b plus 4. What that means is that b is incremented by 4, b is added by 4, and then assigned back to b. So that would give you 9. Okay. So you take this expression, the value is 9 over here, and then assign it over here. But this is how you can do it, but there's a shortcut, and that is addition assignment. So what you can do, you could just go and say b plus equal to 4. What that means is that it basically means this only. Okay. So if you see in this case, this would become b equal to b plus 4. That would become b equal to b is currently 9. So 9 plus 4, that would become 13. Okay. So the final value of b would be 13. That's how you can do it. and the other operators behave in the same way. So hopefully it would be very easy for you to understand. I'm just going to give you one example for that. So for example, in this case, b minus equal to 8. Now that would basically give you 5 because b minus 8 would become 5. Let's talk about multiplication assignment. Again, the same. So b multiply uh, equal to 8, that would give you 40. And rest you can easily understand till here. Um, I'm just gonna write the examples and then you can just understand it on your own. Okay, so you can see I've written all the examples over here. We're gonna talk about nullish coalescing as I said later on. But one important thing over here which you need to understand is the value this returns. So this operator basically returns the value that is assigned to the variable. Okay, so assigned value is returned. That is what assignment operator does, because every operator returns a value. This also returns the assigned value. For example, if I do here b is 16, right? If I do b divide by equal to 8, that gives me 2, because the final value that you would get in b is basically 2, and that is why this is giving you that is why this is giving you this value. Okay, so this is one important thing, that when you assign a value to an operator to a variable, then it basically using the assignment operators, then it basically returns the assigned value. Let's talk about the next type of operator, which is comma operator. Comma operator basically evaluates each operand from the left to the right and returns the value of the last operand. Okay. So for example, if I go and say console log, actually let's first of all say const b equal to 234. By the way, this you should not use comma operator like this when you're giving a value to a constant or variable. You should wrap this around parenthesis, which is also called grouping operator, which we're going to talk about later on. But basically, that's how you can use the comma operator. So you can see here that I use the comma operator. So as I said, it basically evaluates from left to right and returns the value of the last operand. So that would basically give you the value of 4. Okay, so let's take let's try to print the value, and you would see 4, because it starts from left, evaluates each expression, and give the last expression value. Now, one practical example over here, which I can take is, for example, if I go and say let's c equal to 1, and then let's say I did c equal to c plus 2, then I said let's actually wrap this around parentheses, and then I said b equal to b multiply 3, then I said b minus equal to 2. Now, let's talk about what is basically the value that we would get right now. Actually, I should do C here. Yes. Now, what should be the value of this expression? Let's actually take this value into constant d, and let's think about the value here. And let's actually go and make this wrapped around a parenthesis. Now, let's try to think about the value here. So let's take a comment over here to actually discuss about it. So let's say d equal to this. Now, as I said, comma operator starts from left and moves towards right and get the value of the last operand. So it would start from the left. From the left, it's c equal to c plus 2. Now, c equal to c plus 2, what does that mean? C is 1. So, uh, and 1 plus 2 would become 3. So, c would get a value of 3, right? So, 3 would be here. And then we have the rest of things, which is c equal to c multiply 3. And then this c minus equal to 2. Okay. And at this point, the value of c is 3, right? Now let's see the second one. So the second one is c equal to c multiply 3. Now 3 is the value of c, so 3 multiply 3 is 9. So the new value of c is 9. So 9 would be returned, as that's what assignment operator does, right? So c value becomes 9, and 9 is returned, and then the rest is c minus equal to 2. Now finally, we come to this step here, and we basically go and see the value of c. The value of c is 9. C minus equal to 2. That becomes c equal to c minus 2. C is 9. So 9 minus 2 becomes 7. So C would become 7. So the result would be 7 over here, and C would become 7 over here. So the final value of D would become 7, and C would also become 7 because D would get the last operand value. So let's try to see console log. What is this? C is 7, you can see, and D is also 7. Okay. So I hope that makes sense. And that is how you can use the comma operators. Let's go and put this over here. Now let's talk about next type of operator, which is comparison operator. Now comparison operator is basically used to compare two operands and then return a Boolean value. And by the way, all of these are binary operators. So let's actually take it over here. Now, what kind of comparison you can do over here? Let's talk about it. And by the way, these are all the operators. So let's talk about each of them one by one. First of all is greater than. Greater than basically goes and does a greater than comparison. So for example, 2 is greater than 3. Is that true or false? The answer is false. So the answer of this operation would be false. So the operator would return false basically. Uh, say this and you can see we get false, right? Let's talk about less than. So 3 less than 2 would be true. Actually, sorry, 2 less than 3 would be true. Okay. Then next is less more than equal to. Again, these are like basic maths operators. So I hope it's not a very big thing to understand. You can just go and say 2 more than equal to 3. That gives you false. But if you say 2 more than equal to 2, that gives you true. Okay. You can apply the same on less than or equal to. So in this case, if you apply less than equal to, it would return true in both the cases. Okay. Let's talk about equal to and strict equal to. Okay, so that's the main thing we need to understand because that's something that's different from maths, and that is very particular to JavaScript over here. So let's talk about first of all equals to operator. So if you say 2 double equals to 3, that basically means you are asking if this operand is equals to this operand. In this case, it's not, and so that's why you get false. If you say 3 double equals to 3, that gives you true because both are equal. By the way, over here, just have a look at it. This was 1 equals to. That meant assignment. If you say 2 equals to, that means equals to. Okay, it's not assignment in that case. Just to clear the confusion if you have that. Finally, we have strict equal to. Now, there's one difference between strict equal to and equal to, and that is the strict check. So in this case, if you actually take this only, like take these two examples and try to use triple equals to over there, you would get the same kind of result. So you might ask, what's the actual difference then? If both are having the same results, what's the difference? The difference lies between the strict check. This operator is strict and this is not. What that means is that in this case, if you actually say 2 double equals to 2, now logically you might think this would be false. But in case of JavaScript, if you use double equals to, it would become true. Why this is happening? This is happening because there's a type conversion that is happening. We're going to talk about type conversion as I said later on, but that is why this thing is happening. If you try to do the same with triple equals to, that would give you false because triple equals to check the type as well, and that's why you get false over here. Next, let's talk about not equals to. Now, not equals to basically uh is the like opposite of equals to operator. So if you just go and say 2 not equal to 3, that would give you true. 3 not equal to 3, that would give you false. 2 not equal to 2, that would give you false. Now, again, you can see this is not strict because 2 not equal to 2 in string should be true because these are two things are not equal. But the uh, normal like not equal to operator is not strict. If you use strict not equal to, then the result won't change for the first two things, but the result would definitely change for the third thing because this would now become true. Okay. So I hope that is clear, and that's how you can use the comparison operator to compare two operands and return the result as a Boolean value. Let's paste it over here, and let's talk about the next kind of operator we have. The next kind of operator we have is basically the conditional operator. And actually, let's talk about logical operator before that, because I would tell you something related to conditional operator that depends on the logical operator. So let's talk about logical operators first. Now, logical operators can be used in two ways. First is with Boolean operands, and second way is with non-Boolean operands. By the way, logical operators are like they're like these are the logical operators, okay? And here we are not going to talk about nullish coalescing right now. There would be a different topic for this video. And here, like, two operands are binary and one is unary, okay? So when we talk about this thing, this categorization only holds true for this operator, these operators, okay? So what I'm saying is that if you try to use these two operators with a Boolean operand, it would return you a Boolean value. And that is what we're going to discuss in this lecture. What is the condition that gives a like true or false? Basically, it can return a Boolean value. That means it can return true or false, whatever it wants to return. So what decides the value that would be returned? That is the topic of this lecture. But talking about with non-Boolean operand, that is something we're not going to cover in this lecture. But basically, if you give it a non-Boolean operand, it would return a value from one of the specified operands. Okay. So and that doesn't hold true for not operator. So as I said, not operator is a different, and this always returns a Boolean value. Okay. That is something you need to understand. Okay. So non-Boolean, and by the way, you can again you can give like a non-Boolean operand to a not operator, but it would still return you a Boolean value. Okay, so but when you say non-Boolean operands with these two operators, that basically gives you a thing called short circuiting, which we're gonna understand later on. Now let's start with these three operators. First is logical AND operator, which is a binary operator. So logical AND operator basically helps to return true value only when both operands are true. Okay, so let me give you one example over here. Actually, let me give you multiple examples so that it's very clear. So you can see four examples over here. Now, AND operator returns true only when both are true. Otherwise, it always returns false. So what that means is that if I try to use this over here, try to check the value over here, it would return true. But over here, it would return false because one is false. A binary operator wants both the operands to be true. Over here, it would return false again, and obviously here it would return false. Now, what is difference in case of OR operator? OR returns true even when even when like one operand is true. So at least one should be true to get true value in case of OR operator. So, for example, if I go and say console log, let's say true or true, that would basically give you true. Okay. Now, if you say true or false, that would give you true. If you say false or true, that would also give you true. If you say false or false, that would give you false. So you can see only when at least one operand was true, it gave you true. Otherwise, when not even like one operand is true, it gives you false. Let's talk about logical not operator finally. So logical not operator um, is basically useful when you want to reverse the Boolean value. So for example, here, if I go and say not true, that would give you false. If I say not false, that would give you true. If I say not true, that would give you true. If I say not false, that would give you false. So this is very clear. It reverses the value, so it's very clear. What is happening over here is very easy again. You have not true, right? That converts to not false, and that converts to true. The same over here. You say not false, that converts to not true, that converts to false. And that's why you're getting this kind of result. So I hope that's clear. By the way, these might look operators that are useless, but they are actually very useful. Okay. And I'm going to tell you about their use once we talk about conditional operators. So let's talk about that now. Now, conditional operators are used to perform conditional operations. Now, what I mean by conditional operations, I'm going to explain that. But before that, you need to understand that it's the only operator in JavaScript that is ternary, which means it takes three operands. Okay. So to understand conditional operators, let's take a look at the syntax of it. So you can see this is the syntax of it. So first of all, you provide a Boolean expression. Now, by the way, just for your information, expression is something that returns a value. Okay. So you provide a Boolean expression. That means it returns a value that is a Boolean value. Okay. So that is what you provide over here. And then you basically go and provide first of all the question mark, and then you provide an expression. Then you provide this colon, and then provide another expression. So if this Boolean expression returns true, then this expression would be returned and evaluated. Otherwise, if this expression is false, returns false, then this expression would be evaluated and returned. Okay. So what I mean by that, let me show you. So let's take an example. If I say age, so let's say there's like a variable called age. Okay. And the age is basically 18. Okay. Now what I want to do, I just want to go and know if you can actually go and vote or not. So I just say console log. Now I want to know that you can vote or not. For that, what I can do, I can use the conditional operator or ternary operator. So what I do, I just provide the Boolean expression. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say age more than equal to 18. That's the expression, right? So this Boolean expression basically returns true if age is more than equal to 18. Otherwise, it returns false. That's why this is a Boolean expression. Okay. Then what you do, you just go and provide this. Okay. You just go and provide this question mark. Okay. And then you go and provide a string here and another string over here. Okay. So if age more than equal to 18, then this expression would be evaluated and returned. So let's say if age is more than 18, then the thing is that he can vote. Okay. She can vote. So let's say you can vote. Okay. For this, it would be you can't vote. So this expression, this whole expression would return you can vote if age is more than 18. Otherwise, it would return you can't vote. Let's go and paste it over here. And you would see that I'm getting you can vote because the age is more than equal to 18. But let's say if the age was less than 18. So let's say, let's actually go and say let age and let's modify the age to be 16, for example. Then you can see I can't vote. Okay. So yeah, that's how basically you can see we are using the conditional operator. That's how you can use it. By the way, it's not just about passing an expression that returns a Boolean value. You can even go and directly pass a Boolean value. Okay. Because if you pass a Boolean value, that means it's an expression only because it returns that Boolean value. Okay. So what I can do, I can actually go and say something like this. Right. And then I can just go and say console log and log it. You can see I'm getting true, right? If I go and say false, then I would get false. So that's how you can do. And yeah, one last thing over here, and that is this conditional operator can also go and like you can also like perform things like printing a log directly. So in this case, I was logging the value this conditional operator returned. But I can do one more thing here, and that is I can directly go and run console log over here. So I can do something like this, and then here as well, I can do this. So you can see I'm getting can't vote um, because like the age is not more than 18. I've modified it to be 16. Now you might ask like, is it the return value that you're seeing? The answer is no. Return value is different in this case. So let me show you what I mean by that. If I go and console log this whole conditional operator, you would see I'm getting the value of undefined from the console log, but from this expression, I'm getting you can't root. Okay, so why I'm getting undefined, by the way? I'm getting undefined because it evaluates the expression to get the value. And the thing is that console log doesn't return anything, it just returns undefined. Or you can say void. That means it doesn't return anything. Okay, let me show you. So if I go and say console log hello, you would see it returns nothing. It just doesn't return anything. And so that's why if you console log, that would give you undefined as console log. Okay, so yeah, that's basically one more thing which you can understand. So yeah, that's about conditional operators. Now let's talk about the next operator, which is nullish coalescing operator. Now, nullish coalescing operator is an operator that returns its right hand side operand when its left hand side operand is null or undefined, and otherwise returns the left hand side itself. And that's the operator basically, question mark, question mark. Now, I know this might be confusing if you want to understand this. It might be confusing for you, but let me show you with an example. And by the way, this is how it can use. Um, you can see this nullish coalescing, and on the left side there's operand, and right side there's operand. So it's obviously a binary operand, binary operator, and it's a logical operator, by the way. It's a kind of logical operator. Okay, so let's first of all start with this one. So you can see over here, this one would return 4. Now, why it would return 4, I would tell you. But before that, let's see what this one would return. Now, seeing this, you might think it returns the first operand, but it's not like that. It's going to return 3 in this case, not null. Let me show you. And in this case, it would return 4, not undefined. In this case, it would return you 4. In this case, it would return you 3. I'll tell you about this case in a bit, but before that, let's talk about this. So I don't know if you can find the pattern over here, but the pattern is that if left-hand side operand is null or undefined, then it returns the right-hand side operand. Otherwise, it just returns the left side operand. Okay. So in this case, left side operand was not null or undefined. That's why I returned that one. But in these two cases, null and undefined was present in the left hand side. That's why it returned the right hand side operator. And here on the left hand side, again, there was no null or undefined. So that's why it just returned that even when the null or undefined was on the second operand, because it it doesn't care if the first operand is null or undefined. Okay. Now, one more thing over here is that if you go and say null undefined, then you can see it would return you undefined. If you say undefined or on nullish coalescing null, it would give you null. If you say undefined, nullish coalescing undefined, that would give you undefined. If you say null, nullish coalescing null, that would give you null. Now, why this is happening? This is very easy. If you see, it first returns, it first checks the first operand. The first operand is null or undefined. Yes, it is. So it checks the second operand. Now, see, the thing is that it doesn't check the second operand. The thing is that if the first operand is null or undefined, it returns the second operand. And that's why in this case, you got undefined because it checked the first operand was null or undefined. So it just returned the second one. Same in this case, same in this case, same in this case. And that's what is happening, right? That is about nullish coalescing operator. And let's talk about this example over here, which is very important and very fun example. So if you print the value of it, you would get undefined, by the way. If you print the result of this Nullish coalescing over here, you would get undefined. I think I forgot to copy that. Let me copy it properly. Yeah. Or if I go into console log, you can see you're getting undefined. But talking about what would be printed over here, so you already know that console log returns undefined. And so Nullish coalescing goes and evaluates this expression. When it evaluates this expression, it prints high on the screen. Okay, let me show you that. So you can see it prints high there, right? And then once it does that, it gets the value of undefined from this expression. So it moves to the second operand and evaluates that and return the value. So in this case, it evaluates this. Evaluation causes it to print high, hey, and then it just goes and print undefined because the value returned by this would be undefined, and that's why you're getting this kind of thing. Okay. One more thing, if I one final thing actually here, and that is if I say for console log um, hey there. So the thing is that you're getting 4, which is cool. But one thing you can see, if you check the console, you won't see hey there printed. What that means is that Nullish coalescing just checks if the first operand is good enough. If the first operand is good enough, it returns that it doesn't care about the second one. And that's why it is not even printing it. If it was actually caring about this one, then it would have printed it. But it is not even caring about it. But on the opposite side, if you actually see something like this, for example, if I go and say null here, then you would see that it cares about this and prints it and return the value from it. And that's very important. The same behavior is shown by logical operators as well. Actually, not logical, I'm talking about conditional operator. So in this case, you got the output from here, and the output was one of these console logs, not both of them. The reason is that it doesn't care about the second one if the first one is the correct one. Or if let's say this was false, then it won't care about this one. It would just care about this one. So it won't even print this. That's very important to understand. Okay. So yeah, that's about Nullish coalescing. I hope that's clear. Next, let's talk about operators with bigint. Now, why we need to talk about operators with bigint? Because there are some special things that we need to understand over here. First thing is arithmetic operators. Now, arithmetic operators are all valid on begints as well, but there are some issues that you need to be very careful about. So if I go and say 4n minus 3n, that would give you 1n, which is all good. Okay. If I do console log 4n plus 3n, that would also give you 7n, which is good. Same goes with multiplication operator. That also works well over here. If I go and say 3n multiply 4n, that gives me 12n, which is good. Same for the modulo operators and others as well. The problem comes when you talk about divide. Now, if I just go and say 4n divided by 2n, that is good. 2n, that's good. But if I go and say, let's say if I first of all forgot about begints and I said 3 divided by 2, that gave me 1.5. But this won't happen in case of begints. If I go and say 3n divided by 2n, that gives me 1n, not 1.5. Now you might ask why this is happening. This is happening because begints only support integer values, not decimal values. So in this case, it was a number, and so you got a number, and so it's fine. But when you say begints, when you did it with begints doesn't support 1.5n, for example. It's not a valid begint value, and that's why you're getting 1. Okay. So the same happens over here. For example, if I go and say 5 divided by 2, that gives you 2.5. But if you do the same with begints, then you would get 2n. You can see, right? So that is very important to understand. That's about arithmetic operators with begints. Let's talk about comparison operator with begints. Now, comparison operators are basically the same with begints as well. So you can just go and do this 2n more than 1n. That's true, right? And 2n double equals to 2n. That's true again. If I go and say console log 2n equal to let's say 2, you can see it's true again, right? So again, the weird behavior of JavaScript here, that 2n is equal to 2. But if you do, let's say if you say 2 and triple equals to 2, then that behavior would again get fixed. So all the rules of comparison operators apply over here. So that's basically the same for them. So I'm not going to give you more examples over here, but the main point was that with division, there are some things that you need to understand. Otherwise, you would not able to like get the proper result from there. So that's very important. Anyways, that's about operators with bigins. Now let's talk about the next thing which we need to understand, which is string operators. Again, with string, the operators are there. There are some operators that work with string. The first one over here is concatenation operator, and the second one is concatenation assignment. And actually, before talking about this, let's just read it once. So string operators, you can see, are used to perform string operations on two or more operands. Okay, out of which at least one should be string and returns a string value. Okay, so that is very important. If both of them are not string, then it's gonna lead to some different situation. If one of them is string, it's gonna lead to some different situation. Now, to understand it properly, I'm gonna give you an example. Now let's first of all talk about concatenation. Now this is a binary operator, by the way. Binary operator. Actually, these both of these are binary operators. Okay, now, this concatenation operator looks similar to the arithmetic operator plus. So this is similar to this one, right? So if you actually go and say console log 2 plus 3, that gives you 5. Now, by the way, for those who don't know what concatenation, concatenation means combining two values. There's a big difference between adding two values and combining two values. So, for example, 1 plus 1 is 2. But if you combine 1 with 1, that gives you 11. And that's the difference between addition and concatenation, right? So in this case, you can see addition happened. If concatenation had happened, it would have been 23, right? It's 5 here. So it's basically addition that has happened. Now, what I told you about here, string operator, any string operator, concatenation or concatenation assignment, needs at least one of the operands to be string. In this case, both were numbers, and that's why concatenation didn't happen. But if let's say I just went ahead and said 2 plus 3, that would have give you 23. The same would have happened in this case as well, and the same would have happened in this case as well. 2 plus 3. Now, what is happening over here is that in all these cases, for example, in this case, one operand was string, and that's why concatenation happened, and these two got combined as a string. And by the way, here you might ask that this was not a string, so how it got combined with the string? The reason is type conversion, which we're going to look at after some videos. But for now, you can just understand from here that it just combined both of them together and give you back a string. This is a string result, not a number, by the way. 23 here is not a number. So that is the concatenation operator. And yeah, this is obviously more important, not here. This is more important in case of actual strings. For example, I can go and combine my name and my surname like that. So you can see over here that just combined it, right? So that's one use of concatenation operator. And by the way, we talked about string, right? We talked about string literals. So there, I think I told you about the use of backticks. There, I gave you this example over here. That is a very good example for concatenation, right? This is the concatenation good example. So this is basically like this. I just go and put my name over here. So you can see like it is all like combining all these things and giving you the final string over there. That's the main use of concatenation operator. So I hope that is clear. And here as well, you can see, first of all, like what will happen is that first of all, it would combine both of these things. So just make it very clear that in this case, don't think that this plus operator is taking like how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's not taking 5 operands, it's only taking 2 operands still. So because like see, there are like multiple plus operators over here. The first plus operator over here takes these 2 operands, combines them, and then it proceeds with with the combined result of this becoming the operand for this operator, and this operand gets combined again, and then that's how it just moves on. So yeah, that's basically about concatenation operator. I hope that is clear. Next, let's talk about concatenation assignment operator. Now again, this is a very important and very interesting one. So it's basically the same as concatenation. It also requires one of them to be string. So if I go and say like let a equal to 1, and I said a plus equal to 2, that would give you 3, not 12, right? Let me show you. But if you do something like this, for example, let b equal to 1, a plus equal to 2, that would give you 12. Let me show you. So if I go and say console.log b, um, actually b plus equal to 2, yeah. So you can see it's giving you 12. Now, why this is happening, it's very easy to understand. See, here, b plus equal to 2 would become what? B plus 2 equal to 2 would become b equal to b plus 2. That would become what? That would become b equal to, b is already 1. So 1 plus 2. Now, you know, when this happens, when this kind of thing happens, it basically concatenates, like in this case. So it would concatenate, and the final thing would be b equal to 12, which gets printed over here, right? So that's how I'm doing it. Now, the same can be applied over here as well. So what I can do, I can just go and like create a variable called final string, for example, and give it like a string over here. Let's make it like let, I think. And then what I can do, I can just go and combine the strings one by one. So you can see like there were a lot of like parts of the string. There were like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. So what I can do, I can just combine all of them one by one. So I say my name is, okay. So you can see over here, till now the final string would just have my name is. Let me just print the string. You can see that's what it has. Then I just go and combine my name to it. And then you would see that it has like my name is Tushar Vaswani. And then I combine my age with it, and that becomes this. And then I finally combine my actual age, which becomes this then. So you can see this is how we can actually do this. And yeah, finally we have just combined dot as well. So let's do that. And then I get the final string basically, which has the result. Okay. So that's how you can use the concatenation operator and concatenation assignment operator with strings. Okay. So let's save it over here. Yeah. Next, let's talk about typeof. This is a very easy one. Typeof operator basically helps you to return the data type of the operand. Okay. So it's by the way a unary operator. Unary operator. Okay. So let's see how to use it. So there are like basically two syntaxes of using it. First syntax is like this, typeof and the value. Okay. And then second syntax is typeof, and then you give the value. Let me show you both of them. First of all, I just go and say typeof 2, that gives me number. Okay. If I go and create a very constant, for example, 3, and then I just go and check the type of that, you would see it gives me number again, right? So you can see I can um, check the type from a direct value, or I can check from the name from the constant or variable. Okay. Let's take one more example. So if I go and say type of false, that would give you boolean. If I say console log type of let's say -1, 2, that gives you a number. So on, you can just go and go on with this type of foreign, for example, would give you bigint. If I go and say type of last example here, Tushar, that would give you string. Oh yeah, actually, let's take more examples just to make it more fun. So for example, this is one good example of it. So if you remember, not a number is also type of number, right? That is something I told you, and that's a very weird thing, but that's basically what it is, right? So if I go and say not a number over here, that would basically give you a number type. And obviously infinity is also a number, so that would give you number. That's good. Um, so infinity is not a special type, it's basically a number itself. Um, and if you check the type of undefined, that would give you undefined. Now, looking at this, you might say type of null would be null, but the answer is type of null is object. Okay, so that's again very important to understand. Now let's finally talk about type of value. Okay, so like this you can also do. So all these things basically can be done like this as well. So basically what you can do, you can just wrap this around parenthesis, and that would also work. That's the point. Okay. So it would be the same. I'm just not gonna give you more examples, maybe just the null one as well. But yeah, it's basically the same. You can do like this as well. Okay. So yeah, that's how you can use the type of operator. Uh, and that's about all the operators we had to cover in this lecture. So let me know if you have any questions on these things. It's a very important concept to understand. So I'm taking a lot of time to explain this, and everything I've covered about operators that I could actually cover over here. But don't worry, there's a lot more to cover actually. There's precedence, associativity of operators, grouping operators we have to discuss, and then we have to discuss the type conversions which are affected by operators. So all this we have to cover in the next lectures. So if you have any questions, you can definitely drop down that question in comments box below. I would love to answer that. But I think that's it for this video. Bye.